Now we know that how we can create a list, how to access it using index, how we can slice a list using slicing. Now let's take a look at how operators behave with the sequence. So let's take a look at a very simple example with plus operator. A sequence, or you can say a list, can be concatenated with addition operator. For example, let's say if I have two lists here, this is my first list number and this is my second list add. Now I want to concatenate both these sequence. I'm going to just simply concatenate it with plus operator. So if I just say here print and then specify numbers plus add, I'm going to have the result something like this. Using this plus operator, I'm going to concatenate both these lists. But keep in mind, you can't concatenate sequence with different values. You can notice here, both the sequence values are equal. What if I change the value of this second list? When I try to execute the statement, I'm going to have the error message. Because as you can notice here, the first list is a type of numbers and the second list is a type of string. So keep in mind, whenever you want to concatenate two lists, you need to specify equal values to both lists. List can be worked with multiplication operator as well. For example, let's say if I just get rid of this statement, I'm going to just create a list and then specify value 2 here, and if I multiply it by 5, what do you think? What would be the result? If I just say here print numbers, and when I execute the statement, I'm going to have the result something like this. It's going to multiply the list 5 times and I'm going to have 2 5 times. Now in case you want to initialize a list without any value, for example, let's say you don't want to specify any value to these numbers, you can just specify empty brackets here just like this. Using this statement, you are going to initialize this number as an empty list. So once you initialize it, you can add any value in this list whenever you want. Now you can notice here, we initialize this number with this square bracket, but we don't have length to this list. To specify length to your list, you can use the multiplication operator. For example, I'm going to just specify default value to this list. I'm going to specify here 0 and I'm going to multiply it by 5, just like this. So when I execute this statement, I'm going to have the default value to this list, and you can notice the length of the list is equal to 5. If you want, you can change the length of your list just like this as well. Or you can specify none as a default value to this list as well. None is also a value, and this is refers to nothing. It's equal to empty. Now let me show you a very interesting magic of this multiplication operator. Now what if I get rid of this list and specify here single quote and specify here string Python, just like this. When I execute the statement, what do you think? What would be the result? I'm going to have Python 10 times. So it's going to multiply this string 10 times. And if you want, you can change this number as well. And this time the Python string is multiplied by 5. Now what if I wrap this string in the list? For example, if I just wrap this string in the list in the square bracket, then I'm going to have the result something like this. I'm going to have Python string 5 times in the list. So this became my default value of the list. Now let me show you what you can do with this assignment operator with list. Now suppose if you want to add a range of list in another list, you can use slicing. For example, now let's say you have numbers variable and I'm going to just specify here list of numbers just like this. Now we know that you can change the value of any element of this list using slicing. For example, let's say if I just want to change the value of this 1, I can use index and change the value. If I just say here number, specify here 0 index, and if I just specify here equal to sign and then specify here 10, then this index is going to change this value. We already learned that. Now what I want to add another list in this list using slicing. We already know how we can use slicing in the list. If you just take a look at this list, then few numbers are missing. From 3rd to 7th number are missing from this list. So what I want to add numbers from 3 to 7 in this list. I'm going to just simply use slicing for that. So I'm going to start from this second index right from here. So I'm going to just specify here 2 because I want to add sequence right from the 3rd index just out of this 2. So I'm going to specify here 2. So it's going to just add a sequence right from here. And then I want to end the index at the second last index of this list right here. So between this 2 and this 8, I want to add a new list. So I'm going to just specify here colon and then specify -2. So I'm going to start the slicing right from here and end the slicing right here. And now I'm going to specify equal to sign and specify my new list here, just like this. If I just specify here 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, when I execute the statement, I'm going to have the result something like this. The slicing is going to add this list in this list. So you can notice here, I'm going to add this list right from the second index, right from here, and this list right here. So it's going to add this list between these two values. Now we're not limited to add list using this slicing. You can even slice the range of the list as well. For example, if I just specify here this list, and what I want to slice this range from this list. I'm going to just leave everything as it is and just specify here empty list, just like this. So when I execute the statement, I'm going to have the result something like this. This slicing is going to remove all these elements from this list. Now what if you want to find out a specific value in the sequence? In that case, you can use in keyword. For example, let's say if I have here a variable py and I'm going to specify here string to it. Now what I want to find a specific value from this sequence, or you can say from this list. So here I'm going to say print p in py. So I'm going to just find this p character from this sequence. When I execute this statement, it's going to return true because this int find this p in this sequence. So it's going to return true. And then what if I just specify here O? It's going to return true again because we have O in this Python characters. And what if I specify something that is not exist in these characters? For example, if I just say here I'm going to have false as a result because I is not there in the Python characters, in the Python alphabets. So whenever you want to find any value from the sequence, you can use in keyword. Now you can use the same technique with number list as well. So here you have number list, and if you want to find the number 3 from this list, you can simply say here print and then specify 3 in number. When you execute the statement, you're going to get true because we have 3 in this list. Now not limited to only find the numbers from this list. You can find the strings as well. For example, let's say you have a variable members of the type list, and from this list you want to find John. So you can simply specify here print and then specify in character and then specify member, just like this. If you just say here John in member, then this expression is going to return true. When I execute the statement, I'm going to have true because we have John in this list. So this is how you can manipulate and work with sequences, or you can say with list. Now let's take a look at very useful functions that allows you to find the length of the list. So for example, let's say I want to find out the length of this member list. I'm going to just specify here length function, and in the parentheses I'm going to specify member. When I execute the statement, I'm going to have the result 3 because we have 3 values in this list. Now if I just change this list, I'm going to have the different result, and this is going to count these values and get the length of this member list. So using len function, you can find out the length of your list. Then we have max function. Max function is useful to find out the maximum number. For example, from this list, I want to find out the maximum number. I'm going to just say here max. When I execute the statement, I'm going to get the maximum number from this list. The maximum number from this list is 95. So I'm going to have 95 as a result. So using the maximum number, you can get the maximum value from this list. The opposite of this max is min function. The min function returns the minimum value from this list. So when you try to execute this statement, you're going to get the minimum value from this list. Now sometime you may want to create a list using a string. In this case, you can use list function. For example, if I just get rid of this statement, and let's say if I have here a variable py and the value I'm going to specify is a string Python. Now what I want to create list from the string. I'm going to just simply add here py is equal to, I'm going to call a variable py and then I'm going to call a function list. So using list function, I'm going to create a list of string. So I'm going to just specify here parentheses because this is a type of function, and then here I'm going to pass this py, this variable, just like this. When I try to print this variable, I'm going to have the result something like this. I'm going to have all the characters of the string as a list value. Or if you want, you can create a list of numbers as well. So if I just get rid of this Python right from here, and if I say here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I'm going to have the list of numbers, just like this. Now let's take a look at a very simple example of list function. I'm going to get rid of this statement, and here I'm going to just create a variable str value and then specify list function to it. And as a parameter, I'm going to pass string c. When I try to print this statement, I'm going to have all the character as a value in this list. So once I have that, I'm going to use slicing and change this list. Now what if I slice this word and add E and A alphabet, then you would get a different word. For example, if I just specify here str value and then using slicing, I'm going to slice this word. I'm going to say here 1 to get this E, and then I'm going to specify here colon and specify nothing. So it's going to get all these characters. And now what I want to slice this list and specify different alphabets. So here I'm going to specify list, and in the parentheses I'm going to specify E and A. Now when I try to print this statement right here, I'm going to have the different result. When I try to print this statement, you can notice C became C. So for an exercise, use slicing and list function to create different words, just like I did in this example. So let me just give you some words to practice with it. Using this example, just create a list and change the meaning of the word completely. Till then, I will see you in the next one.